In the year 1999, a massive space fortress crashed onto the Earth. It was discovered by the UN forces and was soon modified and rechristened as the SDF-1 Macross, a large battleship that also serves purpose as a city and a giant combat robot. Approximately 10 years after, during the launching ceremony of the Macross, a young boy named Hikaru Ichijo, who was invited to the launching ceremony by his friend and mentor, Roy Fokker, are caught up in a surprise attack by a giant humanoid alien known as the Zentradi. Hikaru climbs aboard a new transformable fighter jet known as the Valkyrie and attempts to fight out the Zentradi, while protecting a young girl he rescued during the invasion named Lin Meme. After the Macross attempt to escape through the use of a fold system, they find themselves transported near the orbit of planet Pluto, far away from home. With over 50,000 refugees on board the Macross, they now attempt to return home to the planet Earth while fighting off the Zentradi. Now, Macross, much like Mobile Suit Gundam before it, became one of the big pioneers of not only just mecha anime, but anime in general. So in terms of story progression and how the two franchises actually work, they both differ in various ways. They're both war stories and space operas, but Macross is more or less a love story compared to the more action-oriented Gundam series. In Gundam, the story is what drives the characters, while in Macross, it is more character-driven in story progression. The characters are memorable and varied. Hikaru does come off at first as your typical angsty teenager that we see in most real robot mech shows, but he does throughout the series grows into a rather mature individual as the characters he meets and befriends impact himself as a character, particularly Lin Minmei and Misa Hayase. These three would enter what is known as a love triangle, which is a staple in the Macross franchise, and as the series goes on, the relationship between these three gets more and more difficult and practically tears them apart. Minmei aspires to be a singing idol, which gets in the way of her personal relationship with Hikaru. And though Misa does work in the military with Hikaru, she tends to get very bossy around him, and as such they don't really get along quite well. Roy is your badass mentor figure who is also a ladies' man, and he impacts Hikaru strongly due to them being best friends and him being somewhat of a brother figure to Hikaru. Then of course, we get two of Hikaru's own wingmen that we are introduced to early on in the series, Max and Kakizaki. So, Max seems to be a pretty boy with glasses. He is by far the best pilot in the whole series. In contrast, Kakizaki is more goofy and happy-go-lucky, often bringing in celebrity to the show. The Zentradi get a lot of screen time and make for some great villains, though there are ones you can sympathize with like Britai and Milia. Simply put, the story is incredible and very engaging, and the characters are very compelling, with themes like love and understanding one another being executed very well. Visually, this anime is over 30 years old, so it can't be helped that the art and animation is outdated and there are tons of stock footage used, but for a show made in the 80s, I think Macross still looks pretty good. The battles are fun to watch, being explosive and fast-paced. As for the classic character designs, they're done by Haruhiko Mikimoto, who did his fair share of mech shows as a character designer, working on shows such as Gunbuster, as well as Gundam 0080 War in the Pocket. Of course, we also have the classic mech designs by Mecha Anime icon Shoji Kawamori, who worked on every entry in the Macross franchise except for Macross 2. The Valkyries are really cool. After all, they're one of the first transforming mechs in anime. The Macross itself is one giant badass machine and one of my all-time favorite mechs / warships in anime. The Zentradi themselves have much more interesting mech designs that tend to be more intimidating, not to mention they themselves are intimidating due to the fact that they're giants that have very odd appearances. Overall, Macross looks decent visually for a show made in the 80s. The music in Macross is phenomenal, from the epic sounding background music to the beautifully composed J-pop tunes performed by Minmei Seiyu Mori Ijima to the wonderful opening and ending themes. Good music is a staple in the franchise and is memorable in every way. Now, there are two dubs that I'm aware of, one of which being the Robotech dub. I haven't seen a lot of it, but needless to say, it sounds horrible and cheesy. But then again, it was dubbed during the 80s, so I can't fault for it being poor in quality. In contrast, the dub by ADV is much better. The only real beef I have with the ADV dub is Mori Ijima as Minmei. While she sounds perfect in Japanese, in English it is very hard to understand what she's saying. But at least she was trying. You might be asking yourself, why is she in the dub? Well, Arihiro Hase, who did an outstanding job voicing Hikaru in the original Japanese version, committed suicide in 1996 for reasons that are unknown to this day. so Iijima decided to reprise her role and dedicate it to him, which is very sweet, I gotta say. For the Japanese version, we also have the multi-talented Akira Kamiya voicing Roy Foku. He is known for voicing badass characters like Ryoma from Getter Robo, Kenshiro from Fist of the North Star, and Kinnikuman from, well, Kinnikuman. Then of course we have the equally talented Sho Hayami voicing Max, who voiced Kei Katsuragi from Orgus, Genius from Gundam the 08th MS Team, Zarbon from Dragon Ball Z, Wolfwood from Trigun, and so on and so forth. When it comes down to it, Macross is an outstanding anime. The story and characters are intriguing, the music's fantastic, and the visuals were great for its time. It's definitely one of my top 10 favorite anime. Taking the themes of loving, understanding one another, and not only execute it well, but also innovate those themes for most anime that would come after it. As a mech series, it stands out tall and proud, and serves as a true testimony to the legacy of anime. Final score, 9.5 out of 10.
Ask